the unraveling of a fragile piece, a secret child, and the echoes of the past. In the gilded world of Los Angeles's fashion elite, peace is a commodity more precious and far more volatile than any stock on the market. For the Forrestus, Logans, and Spencers, it is a delicate tapestry woven with threads of love, ambition, and secrets, a tapestry that can be undone by a single, pulled thread. And for weeks, a thread had been loosening, threatening to unravel the carefully constructed lives of everyone it touched. It began, as so many seismic shifts do, with a quiet observation. Steffy Forrester, a woman whose instincts were as sharp as her business acumen, had noticed the change in Carter Walton. The once focused and charismatic COO of Forrester Creations had become a ghost in his own life, his gaze distant, his energy subdued. A conversation with him was like speaking into a fog. The words went in, but the man behind the eyes seemed to be somewhere else entirely. When she gently probed, he offered a weary shrug, a dismissal she might have accepted from anyone else. But Steffy knew Carter. She had shared history, pain, and a complicated connection with him. She knew the subtle tells of a soul in turmoil. Something was deeply wrong. The mystery found its voice not in a whisper, but in the crisp rustle of paper. It was Ridge, her father, who delivered the catalyst. He approached her with a gravity that stilled the air, a letter in his hand. It was from Daphne, the woman who had vanished from their lives after Carter had chosen a future with Hope Logan. The letter was a confession, a truth Daphne hadn't been brave enough to speak in person before she fled the city and the wreckage of her heart. As Ridge relayed the contents, the world tilted on its axis. Daphne was pregnant, and the child was Carter's. For Steffy, the news was not just a dramatic revelation, it was a call to arms. This wasn't merely about a love triangle or a past affair. This was about family. An unborn child, a niece or nephew, a member of her bloodline, was out there, shrouded in silence and abandonment. That child deserved more. It deserved a father. It deserved to be known. In that moment, Steffy's signature resolve crystallized. She would not stand by and let another generation of their family be fractured by secrets and fear. She would do what she always did. She would take action. The pursuit of truth in a quiet town. Steffy's efficiency was a force of nature. Within hours, she had called in favors, arranged for Amelia to watch the kids, and was on a flight to Santa Barbara, the last known location Daphne had mentioned to a mutual friend. She ignored the cascade of calls and meeting alerts from Forrester Creations. The fashion world could wait. Family could not. Santa Barbara, with its serene, sun-drenched streets and tranquil atmosphere, was a stark contrast to the storm brewing within Steffy. She drove through the quiet neighborhoods, a singular focus hardening her features. When she finally found Daphne, the sight was a blow to the gut. The woman before her was a shadow of the vibrant person she remembered. Drained, emotionally frayed, and physically worn, Daphne looked as though she were carrying the weight of the world, not just the burgeoning life within her. Her hand rested subconsciously on the small, gentle curve of her stomach, a protective gesture that was both heartbreaking and beautiful. They stood at the edge of a quiet public garden, the scent of lavender swaying on the breeze, an unspoken tension crackling between them like live wires. "You must return," Steffy said, her voice devoid of judgment, firm with a purpose that left no room for argument. Daphne's head turned away, her profile etched with pain. "Why?" she whispered, her voice fragile. "So I can be reminded every day that he chose hope? That I wasn't enough." Steffy stepped closer, her own past experiences with heartbreak and loss giving her words a profound empathy. "No," she insisted gently, "because you are having Carter's child. That baby deserves to know its father, regardless of what has transpired between you two. This isn't just your burden to bear. You don't have to do this alone." Daphne's carefully constructed dam of composure finally broke. Tears she had held back for months welled in her eyes, spilling down her cheeks. She had kept the pregnancy a secret as a shield, a way to protect herself from more pain, more criticism, more rejection. But Steffy's words, sharp and true, had pierced straight through her armor. "He didn't choose me," she sobbed, the words a raw confession. Why would he want a child with someone he left? "Because Carter has a right to choose now, with the truth in front of him," Steffi countered, her voice softening. "And that choice must include his child." "Look at you, Daphne. You're running from this. But is there any peace here? Or are you just prolonging the pain?" The question hung in the air, unanswered, but understood. Steffi knew that running from the past only gave it more power. She had brought a hard truth to this quiet town, but with it, she had also brought a lifeline. The birth of serenity and the shattering of peace. The return to Los Angeles was a somber affair. True to her word, Steffi brought Daphne back, and the inevitable confrontation with Carter was as devastating as expected. In the sterile quiet of his Forrester office, the truth was laid bare. Hope, who had been building a future on what she thought was solid ground, found the earth crumbling beneath her feet. Her fury was a firestorm, born of betrayal and the sudden, terrifying realization that her love story now had an epilogue she had never written. "You said we were building a future together," she railed at Carter, her voice cracking with anguish. "And now you're going to be a father with someone else. Did you know? All this time, did you know?" "Hope I didn't know," Carter pleaded, his own world in a tailspin. "But now that I do, I have to be there. I want to be there." His words, meant to be honorable, were just more salt in Hope's wounds. The family reeled from the shock. Ridge and Taylor, no strangers to complicated family dynamics, quickly moved from disbelief to a protective concern for all involved. The focus shifted to Daphne and the impending arrival of the baby. Life has a way of forcing timetables, and the baby decided to make her entrance in the most dramatic way possible during a visit to Forrester Creations. Panic erupted. Carter, his face a mask of fear and determination, rushed Daphne to the hospital with Steffi close behind. The hours in the sterile waiting room felt like a lifetime, each tick of the clock amplifying the weight of their new reality. Finally, the doctor emerged, a calm smile on her face. "It's a girl," she announced. "Healthy and strong." The moment Carter held his daughter, for the first time, was transcendent. Tears streamed down his face as he looked at the tiny, perfect infant in his arms. Daphne, exhausted but radiant, watched him, a mix of love and sorrow in her eyes. "She looks like you," she whispered. "She's perfect," Carter choked out, his voice thick with emotion. "Just like her mother." They named her Serenity, a hopeful prayer for the peace she had brought into their chaotic world. From the hallway, Steffi watched them, a quiet smile on her face. The path had been fraught with pain, but this new life, this chance for a family to heal, made it all worth it. The gathering storms of the past. The weeks following Serenity's birth were a delicate dance of co-parenting and cautious healing. Carter and Daphne, while not romantically involved, forged an honest and dedicated partnership for their daughter. Steffi remained their anchor, a constant source of support, organizing checkups and even planning a small baby shower, determined to surround her new niece with the love and stability she deserved. But in Los Angeles, Serenity is a fleeting state. The paparazzi caught wind of the story, and a photo of Carter and Daphne with the baby at a family brunch at Il Giardino went viral. The headline screamed, "Carter Walton's reunion with newborn and former flame." For Hope, it was a public humiliation, a visual confirmation of all her deepest fears. The fragile peace began to crack. Simultaneously, old ghosts began to stir. Brooke Logan returned from Italy, not alone, but with the roguishly charming Nick Marone at her side. Her sudden appearance sent shockwaves through the family, and Ridge, who had been cautiously optimistic about his own future, found himself staring down the barrel of a past he thought he had left behind. As if the landscape wasn't volatile enough, whispers of Thomas Forrester's return began to circulate. The rumor was confirmed when Zend accidentally let it slip in a design meeting that Thomas had been in touch. A knot of anxiety tightened in Steffi's stomach. She knew her brother's obsessive history with Hope. His return, especially now, could be the spark that ignited the entire powder keg. Thomas, true to form, appeared unannounced, a specter of chaos dressed in designer clothes. He found Steffy in the Forrester hallway, his expression uncharacteristically calm. "Hello, sis," he said, his eyes already searching for someone else. "Thomas," Steffy breathed, stunned. "Are you back?" "I heard about Carter and the child," he said, his gaze intense. "And Hope. I needed to come. I wanted to check on her." Steffy's eyes narrowed. "You mean you wanted to see her?" she corrected, knowing her brother's motives were rarely as simple as they appeared. An unraveling of hearts and a future unknown. Hope's confrontation with Carter was inevitable. She stormed into his office, her pain now sharpened into a weapon. "What are we doing now, Carter?" she demanded, her voice trembling with rage and heartbreak. "Are you playing house with Daphne? Pretending she never left and that you didn't choose me over her?" "That's not fair, Hope," Carter replied, standing his ground. "What we had was real. But this child, she changes everything. My priorities have to be different now." He gestured to the new, framed photo of Serenity on his desk. His meaning was clear. Hope's devastation was absolute. It felt as though every man in her life had ultimately made a choice that excluded her. Later that day, her vulnerability was a raw, open wound when Thomas appeared at her cabin door, flowers in hand. "I heard about Carter and Daphne," he said softly, "and how it all fell apart. I also heard you've been suffering." "Everyone is hurting, Thomas," she deflected, turning away. "Some people are just better at pretending they're not," he replied gently, his presence a dangerous comfort. "I'm not here to pretend. I'm here because I never stopped thinking about you." The words were a spark to dry tinder. Meanwhile, Steffy, growing more suspicious of her brother's intentions, intervened, interrupting a moment that felt perilously close to repeating the past. Her pointed questions to Thomas about his motives revealed her deep-seated fear that his return was about ego, not love. The emotional entanglements grew more complex. Overhearing Carter admit to Ridge that, despite his commitment to Serenity, his feelings for Hope remained conflicted, a heartbroken Daphne began to retreat, the fragile trust between them starting to dissolve. As the week came to a close, the Forrester, Logan, and Spencer families found themselves at a series of dangerous crossroads. Hope, caught in a tailspin of rejection and jealousy, is on the brink of a fiery, life-altering decision. Steffy, the reluctant guardian of her family's fragile peace, fights to prevent history from repeating itself, even as she questions the motives of her own brother. Carter is torn between the duty he feels for his new daughter and the unresolved love that still pulls him toward Hope. With the return of both Thomas and Nick, the embers of past obsessions and old loves are being fanned into a potential inferno. The quiet peace brought by Serenity's birth has vanished, replaced by the deafening silence before a storm. The question that hangs over the canyons of Los Angeles is not if the storm will break, but who will be left standing in the wreckage. Thanks for watching this videos. Please hit the subscribe button for more updated news.